British chat shows have it all. Awkward moments, great moments, and everything in between. Sometimes UK chat shows will also make you think, like when controversial guests like David Icke get interviewed by Sir Terry Wogan. Love them or hate them, you can't ignore the craziest moments in chat show TV history. Parky and Ryan. If you haven't seen this interview but you've heard about it, you'll likely have a bad impression of Meg Ryan. This was not just an awkward interview, but it also showed the power of media spin. Meg was interviewed by Sir Michael Parkinson on his favorite chat show. While he's often been great with all his guests, there has been the occasional mess-up. Often these issues have occurred when he's had a shy guest. Meg was one of those shy guests who didn't seem to answer questions in much detail. Perhaps her questions weren't as satisfying as Michael, his other guests, or the audience would expect. Fair enough, but if you watch the interview, you can clearly see how shy and awkward she felt. But it was just shyness and not rudeness. But that's exactly what the media spun. If you haven't seen the interview, you've likely heard Meg Ryan was rude and didn't want to answer Parky's questions. The media made it seem like she was curt and just gave an occasional one-word answer. But that clearly wasn't the case. This was a crazy moment in chat show history, though. It was an awkward interview, and Meg Ryan's UK reputation was largely tarnished due to the media frenzy. Parky and Emu. Of course, the Meg Ryan interview wasn't the only awkward interview on Parkinson, but in this interview, rather than Parky annoying the guest, it was the guest who annoyed Parky. The funny thing was, the guest wasn't real. Parky interviewed Rod Hull, who had an act where he wore an emu doll and used it for ventriloquism. For some reason, the emu got a bit excited and began to peck at Parky during the interview. Eventually, the emu got so excited he kept attacking Parky until he fell to the floor, and both Rod Hull and Emu mounted him. Parky laughed to keep his composure during the interview, but he definitely was annoyed. Many years later, when appearing on the show Room 101, Michael Parkinson put the emu in the room where it would never be seen again. This remains one of the craziest moments in chat show history, and since then, chat show hosts have never invited another emu to their show again. Jump on it. Of course, not every crazy moment on a UK chat show has been negative or unpleasant. Some have made the show more entertaining. And sometimes this happens when Americans appear on a British show. Will Smith and his son Jaden were being interviewed on The Graham Norton Show and were discussing Smith's experience working on the show that made him a star, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Eventually, they were both asked to show off their rapping skills. Then, the father and son duo began performing the theme song from The Fresh Prince, which the audience gladly joined in on. Then, when the audience thought everything was over, Will said he had a surprise for everyone. And surely enough, to everyone's surprise, Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton on the show, walked on stage. He then began doing his famous Carlton dance, accompanied by the song It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones. And yet, even after they finished, Will Smith said there was still one more thing, and this time Graham Norton had to join in. The song Jump On It came on, and the four chaps did the other famous dance from the original TV series. The crowd went wild, and this has become one of the craziest and most pleasant moments in chat show TV history. David Icke opens our mind. One of the great things about British chat shows is that they're not just there to entertain us, but they often contain intelligent chats. But sometimes there are episodes which draw starkly different conclusions. Some members of the audience will feel the episode provided them with a lot of wisdom. Others will feel the episode was there to provide them with raucous laughter, and others wish they canceled their TV license. These are the reactions to David Icke's interview with Sir Terry Wogan. It's one in which Terry felt guilty about later, and he later re-interviewed David Icke several years later to learn more about what he had to say. At this time, David was better known as a sports commentator, but he had begun writing books on what he felt was the nature of the universe and wanted to warn the world about the evil that was in existence. He discussed ideas which many found shocking and many found laughable. He was dismissed as a loony, and for weeks he got laughed at when he walked across the street. Yet many years later he recalled that the laughing stopped, and rather people thanked him for opening their eyes. Terry certainly had a change of heart. The revelations made in this interview represent one of the craziest moments in chat show history. You'll have to hear yourself what he has to say to decide what you think. The Bee Gees won't take jive from Clive. The Bee Gees were often known for their great senses of humor, as well as their incredible singing and musical talents. But of course, if you keep taking the mickey out of their music, they'll eventually get fed up. This is what happened when the Gibb brothers were interviewed by Clive Anderson on his famous talk show. Clive was known for making fun of his guests, and most of them knew how to play along and laugh at him back. But there's a small selection of guests who really couldn't stand the jibes from Clive. Richard Branson poured a glass of water on Clive's head. Jeffrey Archer was serious and passive-aggressive the whole time during the interview. Robin Williams had a great time, but that's mostly because he never allowed Clive to get a word in. But the Bee Gees were gradually becoming fed up of Clive making jokes about their music. He would state he didn't remember some of their songs and made fun of the rock and roll lifestyle and the excesses they once enjoyed. Eventually, Barry Gibb got fed up and left. Robin followed, and then after they both walked off, Maurice decided to leave and politely told Clive he'd see him later. This was an awkward moment where Clive had to keep quiet, and the audience wasn't sure what to say. How do we get out of here? While the Bee Gees might have mastered the art of leaving a chat show, not everyone could leave with such precision. S Club decided to split up, but after they split up, they were interviewed by Claudia Winkleman. She decided to pry to ask why they broke up and the controversy behind the shocking breakup. The group had to be very vague about the details, and then all of a sudden, a PR representative stormed on camera during the interview and criticized Claudia for her questions. Many people think it would have been better to continue the interview as is. By intervening, the PR representative brought even more controversy to S Club's breakup. You've got the wrong guy. Well, this isn't exactly a chat show, but it makes it worse. A chat show can make a mistake, but a professional news channel probably shouldn't, especially on the BBC. A gentleman named Guy Goma was going to a BBC office for a job interview. He was mistaken for another guy named Guy, who was an expert on the subject that was going to be discussed. What was the subject? Legally downloading music, which is the norm today, but we must remember was still a revolution many years ago. Only an expert could speak at the time on such a matter, not just any random guy. And yet, the guy they got was the guy they didn't need. But Guy was somehow thrown into the makeup chair and then put on the hot seat to be interviewed. He didn't seem to protest, and once the cameras started rolling, he just gave it his best shot. It may have not been the right guy, but this guy truly made us all laugh. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you a fan of any of these chat shows? Do you remember seeing any of these crazy moments on the telly? In fact, do you think contemporary British chat shows are still as good as they used to be? Or has the golden age of British chat shows largely died out? Let us know in the comments section below.